I know I shouldn't probably be doing these videos because they tend to get me in trouble because people take them literal and shit. But here's the thing. When you're by yourself and you need somebody to talk to, you can only talk to yourself. I'm going to tell you about this experience of mine, this human experience, or whatever you want to call it. Because shit don't make sense. And the things that I experience make more sense than what's happening in this reality in which we live with society today. I may look like I'm some badass or some evil person or, I don't know, intimidating or whatever, but the truth of the matter is I like to think that, and this is my own perspective of myself, which everybody's perspective of everybody else is their own, thought up version of who they think they are. So who I think I am and who somebody else thinks I am are two different people. But I'm the same. I will not, I'm not going to be a different person based on who I'm around. I'm going to be the same guy. I'm going to be the same thinker, the same observer, the same calculator of my interpretation of what it is that's going on. So my experience and with what I've been going through over the last 4 years I've been going through this ever since my it started before my divorce. Something happened to me because I was like, why is this happening? Not like, why is it happening to me, but like, what is so, how come I can't communicate properly? How come I can't get, say, my wife to understand where it is that I'm coming from? But this goes back before this. This is like COVID. I don't claim to be this all-knowing person that knows everything, because if I was to say I knew everything, then I couldn't learn anything. And I like to learn things. I like to self-reflect and examine myself more than anything, really, because I know that if I better myself, then I'm a better member of society, basically. So if I can be my best version of myself, which is what I strive to be, the only person that I am striving to be better than is the person that I was yesterday. That's just basically what it boils down to. That's like my motto. That's my thing. So I'm not better than anybody. The only person that I try to be better than is who I was yesterday. And here recently, I struggle not to do these videos because these videos have caused me a lot of grief. Now, these videos were recommended by my therapist. And with what I was trying to do was, like, say I get an hour with my therapist. I was going to my therapist twice a month. That's 2 hours a month. And those 2 hours a month, I'm supposed to try to explain what has caused me to be in this situation, or what has caused me to interpret things the way that I interpret them. And it's very difficult to do in 1 hour every 2 weeks, because in 2 weeks time my hour becomes different every 2 weeks that I talk to my therapist. So I try to hold on to these issues or experiences or whatever, and they couldn't help me. They couldn't identify a problem. They couldn't diagnose me. They couldn't. I mean, one of the weirdest things about it is my therapist I spend 2 hours a month with, and she can't prescribe me medication. My psychiatrist I'm only allowed 15 minutes a month with, and she drugs me. She gives me medication, and she couldn't diagnose me. So like, I don't really understand how somebody can prescribe you medication without understanding your situation and like what it is that you're experiencing, or whatever disorder or whatever they want to call it, diagnosis. If they can't diagnose you, I don't understand how they can medicate you, because if you start diagnosing somebody without, or when you start medicating somebody without a diagnosis, now you're starting to change the chemicals in their head, and you don't even find out what the problem is. You create more problems so that you can say that there's more wrong with that person, so they need more medication, or they need more therapy, or they need more this or more that, which in turn causes you to have to spend more money. So my whole situation kind of revolves back to like money, which, I mean, everything is money. You need money to survive. You need money for this. You need money for that. Yeah, I get the concept. Totally get the concept. So I'm not trying to say that I don't understand that you need money, but money doesn't have value anymore. And when COVID happened, I was a tattoo artist. And I got forced out of my job and everything to not be able to do that, and it didn't make sense being a tattoo artist and understanding cross-contamination, bloodborne pathogens and shit like that. It's like, there ain't no way to stop this, there ain't no way to control this if it is in fact what they say it is. So logically thinking, that didn't make any sense. So now, that played a part into the destruction of my marriage, because I was trying to fix my marriage. I was. Nobody else was. Just me. As a man, trying to fix your marriage and make your marriage better or whatever, the man has like certain outcomes if the marriage doesn't work, as to where the woman doesn't. Woman gets a divorce, she keeps everything. The man gets nothing, unless he has money to pay for a really good attorney. And by the time that she filed for divorce, she had bled me dry, because I was only as good to her as what I could provide to and for her. And not as a human, only as financial and labor aspects goes. Like, I tried everything. I could possibly do. Like, I took care of like as much as possible, and I kept telling her, I'm spread so thin. I'm like, and I'm not getting any reassurance. I'm not getting any kind of like confirmation that you even fucking want to be with me, other than the money that I provide in this marriage. That's literally all I am to you, is this money. So, so COVID, the stress of COVID and everything, and then me not being able to work, is like, oh, well, if you can't work, you're not making money, so you're not worth my time. You're not worth my effort. You're not worth my energy or whatever. So, like, I'd find anything and everything that I could do. She made cookies. Like, she stumbled into this whole cookie making business or whatever, and she didn't like baking the cookies. So before COVID, when I was doing tattoos, I didn't have to be to work till noon. And I'm an early riser. I get up early in the morning and shit, and she didn't. I basically begged her to like spend some time with me, and I couldn't get any of her. I couldn't get any effort from her. But yet, she constantly was telling me that I wasn't putting in enough effort. To effort for her was like financial, I guess. Now she made twice the amount of money that I did, which is cool. I don't judge people or feel inferior to somebody that makes more money than I do. I've had money, I've not had money, and to be honest, being in a place where you don't have money kind of gives you a good perspective on how people really are and like how they judge you and shit by your financial success. What defines success is not how much money you have, in my perspective. It's how you are as a human being, or how you are as an individual, or whatever. So I'd get up in the morning and I'd make cookie dough for 3-4 hours, roll the dough out, cut out cookies and shit. I'd have her give me a list of like what designs and shit she needed cut out, and I'd get up every morning and I'd make these fucking cookies. I'd bake these cookies so that when she got up, she could clock in working for the government and make these cookies on government time. So now she's getting paid by the government to make cookies and then sell these cookies for money. I never got a dime of that money. In fact, I lost money because I would buy supplies. I'd buy sugar, I'd buy butter, I'd buy, random shit like that. Never got reimbursed. Never got reimbursed. And there's a lot of time and effort, that nobody took into consideration that I put into this fucking cookie business of hers. And I never got a dime from it. Now this is more income for her, not me. And she never even acknowledged, like, me making the dough and baking the cookies and shit like that. She never acknowledged that. Nobody else ever acknowledged it either. The only thing that was ever acknowledged was how much money that I brought to the table. Now, when I got with her, I had a lot of credit. I had a bunch of credit cards and shit. And whenever she would want something, now this is probably my fault because I didn't, I didn't evaluate debt to income ratio type shit like that. But I was making good money. And this goes back before I was tattooing and shit. I was working for a place called Goodman Networks. And at a certain point, Goodman Networks got taken over by AT&T because Goodman Networks just installed DirecTV. And then they started implementing like AT&T's way of doing things. Like I think one of the things was called workflow, which caused more time on the jobs. And I didn't get paid by the hour, I got paid piece rate. So I got paid by the work that I did, not how long it took me. And I like to consider myself an efficiency expert, because if I can do something and I have to do it every day, I'm going to find the fastest, most efficient way and most cost-effective way to do that task for me and my company that I work for. And so they start implementing their way of doing things, start taking longer. Then they cut our pay 13.5% and took away a 5% bonus. So if you do the math, that's 18.5% of my income that I lost. That was $1,000 to $1,500 a month that I lost. That wasn't even considered in my marriage. I just had to work harder. I had to do more. I had to figure out other ways and other means of income and shit like that. Not to mention there was 8 acres of grass that I had to cut once a week, and there was shit around the house that I had to fix all the fucking time. And my mental status didn't fucking matter. It didn't matter. And it just drove me like to this point of trying to reach out for help and everything. And I couldn't, I reached out to my friends wouldn't do nothing. I reached out to her friends, And that was probably a bad idea, because that just made me look like an asshole, because I just, it doesn't matter what I say because they've been friends with her. And that's loyalty, blind loyalty. Because the difference between like me and her was, I'm the same person in my relationship that I am outside of my relationship. She was a different person when it was around friends. Like, she would do shit for me when her friends were around that she would not do for me if nobody was there to witness. And she was really good at it. She was really good at it. So to her friends, she made herself look good, but behind closed doors, she was not the same person. And I didn't understand why. And come find out, it was like, I'm not a doctor or anything diagnosing or anything like that, but that's significant. So eventually it gets to this point where it's like, I don't know what the fuck else to do. Will you go to therapy? First words out of her mouth was, I ain't paying for it. So that means that she's not invested in this therapy at all. So when we go to therapy, I pay for it. I already don't have any money, so I have to let my bills go so that I can afford to pay for therapy, because it's not cheap. And we go into therapy, and I'm honest. I'm honest with myself, and I'm honest with others. And I tell my backstory, and I tell my current story and everything. And I go first. It's like origin story type shit, parents and upbringing and all that shit. And she might have went first. I don't remember. It's been some years ago. I think she went first, because after she got done, I was like, my story ain't nothing like that. Because she painted this pretty picture like she had a good upbringing. That's not the same story that she told me behind closed doors. That's not how she told it to me. And then I told my story, which is, a fucked up story. And obviously the therapist is like, well, it sounds like you got unprocessed trauma that you got to work through, which I try to work through every day. Long story short, we get a divorce, and she takes everything from me. Everything except the debt that we accumulated together. Now that debt has become my debt and my debt alone. And the shit don't make no sense. So after I left, because I couldn't take it anymore, I left. I started suffering, come find out, what I'd like to refer to as reactive abuse. Because I'm a nice guy, or, I don't really take shit from people, other than, my wife is kind of have to do those kind of things, to get through certain shit or whatever. And so I do these things, I let her get away with shit. Her friends don't fucking understand, because they don't see that kind of shit. And so long story short, we get a divorce. I get all the debt. Shit that don't even make sense. But I get all the debt. She gets to keep everything. And because of COVID, I'm not even allowed to go over there and get my shit. So like a year later, I finally get my shit. And my shit's been gone through. She's taken anything of value. What she need a welder for? What she need a paint sprayer for? What she need my other lawnmower for? Like, shit was just gone. And it's just like, it's like she just stole it. And nobody identified her theft. And so I come out of it, and I had reached this point, like trying to heal myself and trying to understand myself, and I understand the situation, and understand COVID, and understand society, and understand like all these things that play a part into my mental health. And I come out the other side, and I was just like forgiving and understanding and empathetic to the situation. I never blamed her for anything other than the fact that she wouldn't, try to better herself for the sake of our marriage. It was always my fault. It was always me not doing enough. It was never her fault. She never did anything wrong. She would use the default statement, oh, I know I'm not perfect, I have my flaws, or I know I do things wrong. And yeah, everybody can say that. But do you identify the things you're doing wrong? Do you identify how you're not perfect? Do you identify anything that could help the situation that you could do, that I don't have to like put all the effort in, that you can't even acknowledge? So I come out the other side of this because I have this forgiveness about me, because I was raised Christian, and it's important to forgive people for their wrongdoings, because they know not what they do type shit. So it's like, all right, you know, I'm good. I don't need all that shit. All I'm good for is income, paying debt, and shit like that. So I come out the other side of it. And I was in this place, which one people might call like heaven, because the perspective that I had was just like, man, I was on cloud 9 coming out of it, because I was in an abusive relationship for like 4 years. So when you come out of an abusive relationship, you get to like experience life without that abuse. So it kind of like enlightened me. I started doing a lot of research, a lot of studying on different like psychological behavior and stuff, because not about her necessarily, but for myself, so that I would never allow that abuse to happen to me again. So I come out of this and I feel great, and I am so confident, and I still feel this way. I'm just dope as fuck. I'm a cool ass guy. I'm real chill. I don't care what you think about me. I know who I am. I know who I want to be in the future, as far as an individual person, as far as an understanding and empathetic being. And so I come out this other side, and I feel great. It feels so good. And then I meet this girl, and she doesn't like me talking about her. So it's a sense of like the relationship and what the relationship did for me. Not necessarily like who she is or anything, because she's a great girl. She's like, we all have issues and flaws, as well as myself. So I don't blame people for their lack of comprehension, because our words have been diluted and our psychology has been manipulated, and sometimes we don't even know who we are, and we don't recognize the things that we do. And I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. But when you put forth the effort, you can actually identify certain things about yourself and become a better person for those things. So I meet this girl, and she's not like anything that she was not like, she's not my typical attraction, my typical, she was a beautiful girl. She is a beautiful girl. She's a gorgeous girl. And she still is. And but her way of thinking was different than my way of thinking, because like I said, you know, I was like Christian. I tried to be like as Christian as possible, because that was my upbringing. It wasn't a choice of mine. It was literally just the way I was raised. And so I always thought that what I was doing was the way I was supposed to do it. That sounds brutal. 1 second.